The night everything turned to ash, when everything you built disappears in one night. My house burned down. Everything I owned, gone. Let that sit for a moment. Years of work, years of saving, years of building, reduced to ash in one night. Life can change without warning. No countdown, no preparation. One moment you are standing in comfort, the next moment you are standing in smoke. Have you ever had something ripped away from you so fast that your mind could not catch up? A job lost, a relationship ended, a phone call that changed everything. That is what it feels like. Shock does not scream. It freezes you. It makes you stare at what is left and ask, is this real? We believe we are safe because we worked hard. We believe we are secure because we planned carefully. But life does not promise safety. It only promises change. And when everything you built disappears in one night, you find out very quickly what you were really standing on. Was it the house? Or was it something deeper? Because if your strength is tied only to what you own, then when it burns, you burn with it. It wasn't just a house. It was a lifetime of memories. People say, it's just a house. No, it was not just a house. It was birthdays celebrated in that living room. It was pictures on the wall that held stories. It was the mark on the door frame that showed how tall someone had grown over the years. When fire takes a house, it does. Not just take wood and bricks. It takes memories you can never replace. You can buy another couch. You can build another wall. But you cannot rebuild the first drawing your child made and stuck on the fridge. You cannot recreate moments frozen in old photos. And here's the hard truth. Sometimes we attach our identity to those things. We say, this is my home, this is my life. So when it burns, it feels like part of you burned too. But let me tell you something. Your identity is not your address. Your worth is not stored in a box. Your value does not live inside four walls. If it did, you would lose yourself every time you moved. Loss forces you to separate who you are from what you have. And that is painful. But it is also powerful. When the smoke clears, reality hits hard at first. There is noise, sirens, movement, confusion. Then there is silence, and that silence is heavy. When the smoke clears, reality stands in front of you. No filters, no comfort, just truth. This is when the real battle begins, not the physical loss. The mental one. Your mind starts asking questions. How will I rebuild? Where will I go? Why did this happen? Disaster tests your mind before it tests your body. Some people break in that silence. Others begin to think differently because once the noise fades, you're left with your self. And if you do not control your thoughts in that moment, they will control you. That is the moment you either fall apart or stand up inside. Where do you run when there is nowhere left to run? When your world collapses, your first instinct is to run. Run to safety, run to comfort, run to someone who can fix it. But what happens when there is nowhere to run? What happens when the place you call home is gone? You feel exposed, small, vulnerable, and in that moment, you realize how much we depend on structure, on routine, on stability. Without it, we feel lost. But sometimes life removes your hiding place so you can discover your strength. When there is nowhere left to run, you are forced to stand, and standing is the first step toward rebuilding. In crisis, you reach for the ones you believe will catch you when everything falls apart. You do not think about strangers. You think about family. You think about the people you believe will open the door without hesitation. That is human nature. When a child falls, they run to a parent. When adults fall, they still run to someone they trust. In moments of crisis, we reach for connection. We believe that the ones we poured into will pour back into us. And 3 is nothing wrong with that desire. We were not built to survive alone, but Here is the truth. The pain is deeper when the arms you reach for do not reach back the way you expected, because it is not just about help. It is about feeling seen, and that is where the real test begins. The fire outside was loud. The fire inside was louder. The flames outside were strong. But the fire inside was stronger. The outside fire burned wood. The inside fire burned expectations. The outside fire destroyed a house. The inside fire questioned relationships, strength, identity. External loss is visible. Internal pain is silent. And sometimes the pain no one sees is the one that changes you the most. You can rebuild a house with time, but rebuilding trust, rebuilding belief, rebuilding your sense of security, that takes courage. Sometimes the fire outside is easier to survive than the one inside, but here is what. I learned the fire did not come to end me, it came to reveal. When you lose everything, you look for one thing: support in crisis. We don't look for comfort. We look for our own when life collapses. You do not search for luxury. You search for people. You do not think about comfort. You think about connection. In crisis, the human heart runs toward what feels familiar, toward those you believe are yours. It does not matter how strong you are. When everything falls apart, you want someone beside you, not to fix everything, just to stand with you. That is instinct. When someone loses a job, they call family. When someone gets sick, they call family. When someone is scared, they call family, because deep inside we believe blood means bond. We believe that when the storm hits, our own will open the door. And when you lose everything, that belief becomes even stronger. You do not want the world. You want your own. I raised him. I sacrificed. I gave. The silent ledger in the heart. There is something we rarely admit out loud. When we give for years, we quietly expect something in return. I raised him. I sacrificed. I gave everything I had. Those words stood in the heart like a silent record. You remember the sleepless nights, the bills paid, the dreams you delayed so someone else could grow. You tell yourself you gave without asking for anything back, but deep inside there is a belief, a quiet belief, that one day, if you ever fall, the same care will return. It is not about control. It is about fairness. You poured water for years. You expect a drop when you are thirsty. That silent record does not shout. It waits. And when crisis hits, it comes forward. We plant for years, expecting shade someday. Parenting is like planting a tree. You water it, you protect it. You stand in the heat so it can grow strong. You do not see results right away. You invest time, energy, love, and you tell yourself, one day this tree will be tall. One day I will sit in its shade. That is natural. Farmers plant seeds knowing they will not harvest the next day. But here is the truth life does not always warn you about. Sometimes the tree grows in a direction you did not expect. Sometimes the shade you imagined does not appear. When you need it most, that mean the years were wasted? No, but it does mean expectations can be dangerous, because when you plant with a contract in your heart, you are not just growing love. You are growing hope tied to a future response. And hope can hurt when reality arrives. Expectation versus reality. The collision no one prepares for. No one teaches you how to handle the moment when expectation meets reality. In your mind, you picture support, warmth, immediate concern, but reality can look different. Reality can be distant, busy, cold, and when the two collide, it feels like a crash inside your chest. You do not just feel disappointed. You feel confused. Did I misunderstand everything? Was I wrong all these years? That gap between what you imagined and what happened becomes the real pain. It is not always what people do. It is the difference between what you believe they would do and what they actually did. That gap can shake your foundation because it forces you to question your own understanding of love. Love given does not guarantee love returned. This is a hard sentence to accept. Love given does not guarantee love returned in the same way you can give your best. You can sacrifice deeply. You can show up every single day, and still, the response may not match your effort. That does not erase what you gave, but it reminds you that love is not a trade. You cannot control how someone grows. You cannot control how someone responds. You can only control what you choose to give. If you give expecting equal return, you may live in disappointment. If you give because it is who you are, you remain strong no matter the outcome. That difference changes everything. It wasn't about money. It was about showing up. Let me make something clear. It was never about money. It was not about a place to stay or financial help. It was about presence. About someone saying, "I'm here." Sometimes the smallest actions carry the greatest weight. A call, a visit, a hand on the shoulder. When those are missing, the absence feels louder than the disaster itself. Because in moments of crisis, being seen matters more than being saved. And when you do not feel seen, the wound goes deeper. Disappointment cuts deeper than disaster. Losing a house hurts, but disappointment in someone you trust hurts more. Disaster attacks your outside world. Disappointment attacks your inside world. Bricks can be replaced. Between belief cracks. Rebuilding takes longer. That is when you realize something powerful. The heartbreak was not just about a reaction. It revealed something bigger. Revealed what you were depending on. And that realization leads to the next lesson. The moment that broke me. Confronting rejection. The loudest pain is the one that happens in silence. There was no shouting. No argument. No dramatic scene. Just silence. And sometimes silence speaks louder than words. When reality settles quietly, it feels heavier. You stand there, waiting for something different. A change, a shift, but nothing changes. That is when the pain moves inward. It does not explode. It sinks. Have you ever smiled in front of someone while something inside you cracked? That is the loudest pain because no one sees it and you cannot even explain it properly. You just feel it. Heavy, real, and unforgettable. When the response you feared becomes real deep down, there's always a small fear. What if they don't show up the way I hope? Most of the time, we push that fear away, but when it becomes real, it hits hard. The response you feared is no longer imagination. It is fact, and acts are harder to ignore. In that moment, something shifts inside you. You stop, hoping that you start seeing clearly, and clarity, even when painful, changes how you view everything. After shock, then emptiness, then understanding. First comes shock. You think, this cannot be happening. Then comes emptiness, a strange calm, a quiet inside your chest. Then slowly, understanding, not anger, not rage. Just understanding. Realize that people can only give what they have, and sometimes what they have is limited. That understanding hurts, but it also opens your eyes. What hurts more, losing a home or losing hope? Let me ask you something. What hurts more, losing a home or losing hope in someone you trusted? A home is physical. Hope is emotional. When hope shakes, it affects how you see relationships, family, even yourself, because hope carries belief. And when belief cracks, rebuilding takes strength. It forces you to ask yourself, was I leaning too much? And that question leads to growth. When your own blood feels like a stranger, there is a special kind of confusion when someone close feels distant. You look at them and think, how did we get here? The face is familiar. The connection feels different. And that difference creates space. Not physical space, emotional space. It makes you realize that closeness is not automatic. It must be nurtured from both sides, and sometimes one side is stronger than the other. That imbalance becomes clear in hard moments. Standing in the rain while the door closes it felt like standing in the rain while the door slowly closed. Not slam dot, just closed. You are outside, exposed. You expected warmth dot instead. You feel the cold. That image stays with you because it shows you something important. You cannot force a door to open dot, and you cannot stand in the rain forever waiting for it dot at some point. You must move. If you lean too hard, you fall too fast. Here is a hard lesson. If you build your strength on someone else, you become unstable. The moment they shift, you fall. Leaning is natural. Depending completely is risky because people are human. They change. They grow. They struggle to dot if you lean too hard. You fall too fast dot, and falling teaches you to stand differently next time. I thought he would understand. I thought he would care. I thought wrong. I thought he would understand. I thought he would care. I thought wrong. Those words repeat in your mind, not to blame, but to wake you up, because sometimes the hardest truth is not what someone did dot, it is what you expected, and that realization becomes the turning. The hard truth about expectations, let's be honest. Expectations are quiet, but they are heavy, let's be honest. Expectations rarely shout. They whisper. They sit quietly in the heart, but they are heavy. You may not even say them out loud. You may tell yourself, I don't expect anything, but deep down you do. You expect respect. You expect care. You expect support when you need it most, and there is nothing wrong with desire. The problem is the weight, because when expectations are silent, they grow without being tested. You carry them for years. You build on them. You trust them dot, then one day, reality does not match them, and that quiet weight suddenly feels crushing. What you never said out loud can still break your heart. That is why we must face them, not to remove love, but to remove hidden pressure, the silent contracts. We write in our own minds. Most of us write contracts that no one else has seen. We assume that because we gave, they will give. Back dot, we assume that because we stayed, they will stay. But here is the truth. Just because you wrote the agreement in your heart does not mean they signed it dot. We create rules in our minds about how love should work. If I sacrifice, they will remember. If I support, they will return it. But life does not follow silent contracts. People are living their own struggles, fighting their own battles. They may not even know what you expected. And when they fail to meet a contract they never agreed to, we feel hurt, not because they broke a promise, but because we assumed one existed. Emotional debt versus real responsibility. There is a big difference between emotional debt and real responsibility. Responsibility is clear. It is spoken. It is understood. Emotional debt is silent dot. It sounds like this inside your head. After everything I've done. But love is not meant to create debt. When you give and keep track inside, it becomes heavy dot. Responsibility says, I will guide you while I can. Emotional debt says, you owe me when I fall. That shift is small, but it changes everything, because one is love, the other is pressure, and pressure, even if quiet, builds tension over time. Did you give to love, or did you give to be repaid? Here's the question that hurts. Did you give because you loved? Or did you give because you believed one day it would return? Be honest with yourself. There is no shame in the answer. Only grief dot. Sometimes we mix love with expectation without realizing it. We say we are giving freely, but inside, we are planting seeds for future support. That does not make you a bad person dot. It makes you human, but growth begins when you separate. The two dot. Love should be strong enough to stand alone. If it depends on repayment, it becomes fragile dot, and fragile love breaks easily. Unspoken. Expectations are invisible chains, unspoken. Expectations are like invisible chains. You cannot see them, but you feel them when they tighten. They wrap around. Relationships slowly. One person feels pressure, the other feels disappointment, and neither fully understands. Why? Because nothing was clearly said, when you expect someone to act a certain way without telling them. You set a silent trap, not for them, for yourself, because the moment they act differently, the chain pulls tight around your heart. Freedom in relationships comes from clarity, not silent demands. Vine. Freely versus giving with a hidden envoy. There are two ways to give. You can give freely, or you can give with a hidden invoice. Giving freely says, I choose this. No conditions. Giving with a hidden invoice says, one day I will collect. You may never say it, but you feel it, and when the day comes that you need help, you mentally open that invoice. You think, now it's your turn. But life does not always balance. That way, and when it does not, resentment grows. True freedom comes when your giving is not tied to a future payment, because then no one can disappoint you in the same way if you expect repayment. You are investing, not loving. This is tough, but hear it clearly. If you expect repayment, you are investing, not loving. Investment waits for return. Love gives because it chooses to give. That does not mean you allow disrespect. It means your peace is not tied to their response. When you remove repayment from love, you protect your own heart and you become stronger. Sometimes heartbreak is not betrayal. It is miscalculation. Sometimes heartbreak is not betrayal. It is miscalculation. You misjudged what someone was ready to give, and now you see clearly. That clarity is painful, but it is powerful. Because now you can grow. When fire reveals, what you're built on. Fire is not just destruction, it is revelation. Fire does not only destroy. It reveals. When everything is comfortable, you do not see your cracks. You do not question your strength. But when life burns something down, it exposes what was hidden. It shows you where you were strong and where you were weak. Think about athletes. They look confident on the field, but when they lose badly, their real character shows. Do they blame others? Or do they train harder? Tests reveal truth. Comfort hides it. The fire in your life may take things away, but it also shows you what cannot be taken. And that is where growth begins. Pressure doesn't create character. It reveals it. Pressure does not magically build strength. It reveals what was already there. If you built patience over years, pressure will show it. If you build dependence, pressure will expose it. When a storm hits a building, you find out if the foundation is solid. Life works the same way. You do not become strong in the fire. You discover. If you already were. And if you were not, that is not the end. It is information. Information you can use to rebuild stronger. Who are you when everything is gone? Take away the house. Take away the comfort. Take away the titles. Who are you? This question matters. Because if you only see yourself through what you own, you will feel empty without it. But if you know who you are beyond possessions, loss cannot erase you. Many people have lost everything and rebuilt. Business owners who went bankrupt and started again. Families who moved with nothing and built new lives. They survived because their identity was not in their things. It was in their strength. What remains when comfort disappears? Comfort can hide weakness. When everything is smooth, you do not have to stretch. But when comfort disappears, what remains? Your mindset. Your discipline. Your courage. Those cannot be burned. They are built inside. And once you realize that, fear loses some power because you understand something important. External loss does not have to mean internal collapse. You can lose comfort and still keep control of yourself, depending emotionally versus standing emotionally. There is a difference between connection and dependence. Connection is healthy. Dependence can be dangerous. When you stand emotionally, You can love deeply without falling apart when someone steps back. When you depend emotionally, their actions control your stability. That is risky because people change. Standing emotionally means you care, but you are not controlled. You support, but you do not collapse. And that kind of strength protects you in hard seasons. Stop building stability on people still building themselves. Let me tell you something clearly. Stop building your stability on people who are still building themselves. Your children are still learning. Your friends are still growing. If you expect them to hold you up completely, you may fall. Build your foundation within. Appreciate support when it comes. But do not demand it, because when your base is strong, outside shifts will not shake you as much. You must be strong. You must be steady. You must be self-supported. You must be strong, not loud, not aggressive. Strong. You must be steady. Not perfect, not emotionless. Steady. You must be self-supported. Not isolated, not cold. Self-supported. This is not about pushing people away. It is about standing on your own feet. So when life shakes, you do not collapse. You bend, but you do not break. Sometimes you have to lose the roof to see the sky. Sometimes you have to lose the roof to see the sky. Losing what covered you can feel terrifying, but it can also open your vision. When the roof is gone, you see wider. You think deeper. Grow stronger. Loss can limit you, or it can expand you. The choice is yours. The dangerous illusion of entitlement. No one owes you rescue, not even the ones you raised. This is hard to hear, but it is freeing once you accept it. No one owns rescue. Not your friends, not your family, not even the ones you raised. You may have given them everything: time, energy, protection, love, but rescue is not a debt that must be paid back. The moment you believe someone owes you salvation, you hand them power over your peace. Personal responsibility means this: when life knocks you down, you stand up first. If someone helps you, be grateful, but do not wait for it, because the longer you wait for someone to save you, the weaker you feel. Strength begins the day you realize your life is still your responsibility. Different generations, different expectations. You were raised one way, they were raised another. You may have been taught that family always comes first, no matter what. They may have been taught independence, boundaries, personal space. Neither side is fully wrong, but the gap creates misunderstanding. You expect sacrifice because that is what you were taught. They expect balance because that is what they learned. When these expectations clash, disappointment grows, but growth begins when you understand that times change. Upbringing shapes behavior, and sometimes what feels like rejection is simply a difference in mindset. Understanding this does not remove the pain, but it removes confusion. Love does not guarantee loyalty. Love is powerful, but it does not force loyalty. You can love deeply and still be let down. You can give fully and still face distance. That does not mean your love was wasted. It means love does not control another person's choices. Is painful because we believe love should secure connection. But connection requires effort from both sides. Love opens the door. Loyalty is a choice, and you cannot choose it for someone else. Accepting this truth protects your heart from unrealistic expectations. Are you helping to empower or helping to control? Here's a question that changes everything. When you give, are you empowering? Or are you trying to control future outcomes? Sometimes we help because we want to lift someone up. Other times, we help because we want to feel needed. There is a difference. Empowering says, grow strong, stand tall. Control says, remember who helped you. Be honest with yourself. Did you give so they could rise freely? Or did you give so one day they would feel obligated? Growth begins when you face your own motives without fear. Raising a child is not the same as owning their future. You guide a child. You teach, you protect, but you do not own their future. They will think differently, act differently, choose differently. That can hurt because you invested years shaping them. But guidance is not ownership. You give values. You give direction. After that, they choose their path. And sometimes their path will not look the way you imagined. That is not failure. It is independence. And independence was the goal all along. If your peace depends on their response, you will always be unstable if your peace rises and falls based on how someone responds to you. You will never feel steady. Because people change, they have good days and bad days. They have their own stress, their own focus. If your calm depends on their behavior, you give them control over your emotions. That is risky. Peace must come from inside. Support from others is beautiful, but it should not be the foundation of your stability. When your center is strong, outside reactions cannot shake you as easily. Support is a gift, not a guarantee. Support is precious, but it is a gift, not a guarantee. When someone shows up for you, be thankful, but do not demand it. Maturity means loving without controlling, giving without expecting, standing strong whether someone stands beside you or not. That is emotional growth. And that growth leads to freedom. Rebuilding without waiting for permissions. Day I stopped waiting. There was a moment when something shifted inside me. I stopped waiting for the perfect apology, stopped waiting for someone to suddenly understand, stopped waiting for rescue. Waiting keeps you stuck. Waiting makes you feel small. The day I stopped waiting was the day I took back control. Nothing outside changed immediately, but something inside did, and that internal shift changed everything. Because once you decide to move, even slowly, you are no longer powerless. You are active. You are engaged in your own rebuilding. You can rebuild. Even if you rebuild alone, you may not want to hear this, but you can rebuild alone if you have to. It may not be easy. It may not be fast, but it is possible. History is full of people who started again from nothing. People who lost homes, businesses, even families, and they rebuilt, not because they had perfect support, but because they refused to quit. You are more capable than you think. Strength is often hidden until it is needed. And when you use it, it grows. Do not underestimate yourself. You survive the fire. You can survive the rebuilding. Ash is not the end. It is fertilizer after a forest fire. Something interesting happens. The soil becomes richer. New growth begins. Ash feeds the ground. What looked like total destruction becomes the start of something new. Your life works the same way. What burned away may have cleared space. Space for stronger habits, stronger boundaries, stronger identity. Do not look at ash and see only loss. See potential. See a chance to grow differently. Control what you can. Release what you can't chew. Cannot control how someone responds to you. You cannot control the past, but you can control your next step. Focus on that. Control your effort. Control your mindset. Control your response. Release the rest. Holding on to what you cannot control drains your energy. Redirect that energy toward action. Even small steps matter. One decision at a time. That is how rebuilding begins. What if the setback is the setup? What if this loss is not the end? What if it is preparation? Many people discover their strength only after facing failure. Athletes lose before they win. Business owners fail before they succeed. What if this setback is shaping you for something greater? What if this pain is sharpening you? Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what can I learn? That question changes everything because it turns loss into growth. Get up. Start small. Move forward. Get up. Even if you feel tired. Start small. Even if the task feels tiny. Move forward. Even if the steps are slow. Progress does not require perfection. It requires movement. Every small action builds confidence. Every effort builds strength. Do not wait for big change. Create small change daily. That is how you rebuild your life, waiting to be saved. Waste the time you could save yourself. Waiting feels safe, but it steals time. Every day spent hoping someone will fix your situation is a day you could use to improve it. That is tough love, but is this true? You do not need perfect conditions to begin. You need courage. And courage grows when you act. When pain becomes fuel instead of a cage. Pain can trap you, or it can drive you. If you let it control your thoughts, it becomes a cage. If you use it as motivation, it becomes fuel. The same pain. Different outcome. Choose to let it push you forward. Let it remind you of what you are capable of surviving, and once you survive it, you are stronger than before. What this teaches about strength and family. This is not about blame. It is about understanding life. This is not about pointing fingers. It is about seeing life clearly. Family relationships are complex. People grow. They change. They respond in ways we do not always expect. Blame keeps wounds open. Understanding allows healing. You can love someone and still acknowledge pain. You can value history and still recognize differences. Life is not a courtroom. It is a journey. When something hurts, the goal is not to punish. The goal is to learn. To grow. To move forward with wisdom that does not erase the past, but it shapes the future. Understanding brings clarity, and clarity brings peace. Love without control. Care without chains. Love should lift, not control. Care should support, not confine. When we try to control outcomes, we create tension. People need space to grow. They need freedom to make choices. That does not mean you stop caring. It means you trust. Trust that values you shared will guide them. Trust that growth takes time. Love is strongest when it is free. Chains may hold someone close, but they do not create real connection. Real connection comes from choice, from respect, from mutual understanding. Love without control allows relationships to breathe. And breathing relationships can survive challenges. Give without keeping score. When you give, do you keep a mental record? Do you count favors? Do you remind yourself of sacrifices? If you do, you're carrying a hidden weight. Giving should be generous, not transactional. Life is not a balance. Sheep. People are not debts. You can give and still protect your heart. You can help and still set boundaries. But when you give, release the score. Do it because it reflects who you are, not because you expect repayment. This does not make you weak. It makes you free. Free from resentment, free from constant measurement. True giving is light. It feels natural. And it creates goodwill without strings attached. Stand strong without leaning too hard. Connection is important, but dependence can be risky. If your emotional stability relies completely on someone else, you may feel shaken when circumstances change. Standing strong does not mean standing alone. It means standing on your own foundation. Relationships should add strength, not replace it. You can appreciate support, you can value guidance, but your inner stability must come from within. When you stand strong, you are better able to love. You are better able to support because you are not falling. You are walking beside others. That balance creates healthier relationships. Can you love deeply and still stand alone? This is a powerful question. Can you love deeply and still stand alone? The answer is yes. Love and independence are not enemies. You can care for someone and still maintain your own strength. You can value connection and still rely on yourself. Standing alone does not mean isolation. It means confidence. Confidence that you can handle challenges. Confidence that your worth is not dependent on constant validation. When you love from a place of strength, relationships improve. Because you are not seeking rescue, you are offering partnership. That is a healthier foundation. Strong trees grow roots deep, not wide. Think about a tree. A strong tree grows deep roots. Roots that anchor it, roots that allow it to withstand storms. If roots spread too shallow, the tree can fall. Life is similar. Inner strength is like deep roots. It supports you when conditions change. It helps you remain steady. Dependence on external circumstances is like shallow roots. It works in good weather. But storms reveal weaknesses. Grow your roots deep. Develop values. Build emotional stability. Learn to stand firm. When roots are deep, you are harder to shake. And growth becomes possible even in difficult seasons. If your strength is internal, no fire can destroy you. External circumstances can change. Jobs can be lost, homes can burn, situations can shift, but internal strength remains. If you build character, discipline, and emotional resilience, those things cannot be taken. Fire can destroy objects. It cannot destroy wisdom. It cannot destroy integrity. It cannot destroy the lessons you learn. Internal strength is the foundation. When that foundation is strong, external events have less power. You may face challenges, but you are not broken by them. You learn, you adapt. You continue. That is real strength. Real security is internal security. Is not only about possessions. It is about mindset. About emotional stability. About knowing you can handle difficulty. External safety matters, but internal security matters more. If your peace depends entirely on outside conditions, it can shift easily. If your peace comes from within, it remains steadier. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means approaching them with confidence. With problem solving, with belief in your ability to grow. Real security is knowing you're capable. Knowing you can rebuild. Knowing you are more than circumstances. That understanding creates freedom. The final lesson: build a life that cannot burn. The house burned. The heart broke. The spirit rose. Loss is painful. It changes everything, but it does not define you. The house burned. The heart broke. Yet the spirit rises. This is the human capacity to rebuild. To find meaning. To grow beyond hardship. Life tests everyone. The question is how we respond. Do we remain stuck, or do we move forward? Rising does not erase pain. It transforms it. It teaches lessons. It builds strength. And it reminds us that we are capable of more than we imagined. What fire cannot touch? Character, discipline, self-respects. Some things cannot be destroyed. Character, discipline, self-respect. These are internal qualities. They are built over time. They guide decisions. They shape. Identity fire can take objects. It cannot take who you are. When external things disappear, internal values remain. That is why they matter. Invest in them. Protect them. Because they are foundations that survive change. Build your mind. Build your strength. Build your independence. Mindset matters. Strength matters. Independence matters. Building these qualities creates stability. Not because you reject others, but because you are capable on your own. A strong mind helps you face challenges. Strength helps you endure. Independence allows growth. This is not about isolation. It is about capability. When you build yourself, relationships become healthier because you are not demanding rescue. You are contributing. You are standing as an equal. If everything vanished tonight, who would you be tomorrow? This question is powerful. If everything vanished, who would you be? Would you still recognize yourself? Would you still have values? If the answer is yes, you are strong. If the answer is uncertain, you have an opportunity. To grow. To define yourself beyond possessions. To build identity on qualities that remain. Life can change quickly, but who you are can remain steady. That is the lesson. Identity is deeper than circumstance. Stop relying. Start rising. Relying on others is not wrong, but relying completely can be fragile. Rise. Take responsibility. Make choices. Move forward. This does not mean rejecting help. It means combining help with personal effort. When you rise, you become part of the solution. You create progress. You shape your future. Rising is action. It is strength. Is belief in your ability to improve. The fire took my house. It did not take me. The house is gone, but I remain. This is the core truth. Loss does not erase identity. Hardship does not destroy potential. I am still here. I can still grow, can still build. That understanding changes everything. It shifts focus from what was lost to what remains. And what remains is powerful, human. Strength. Resilience. The ability to start again. You are more than what you lose. You are more than possessions, more than circumstances, more than moments of difficulty. Loss does not define worth. Worth comes from character. From kindness. From effort. From the way you face challenges. Life will bring change. But you are not defined by change. You are defined by how you respond. You are more, and that truth is the foundation of strength.